Now this is what they look like close up. 3 variations: hard touch, medium touch, soft touch. There's some science behind these, and I'll send you over to Professor Fussy in the shed. He'll tell you more about it. So I said to him, evolution. No, didn't have a clue. Not the foggiest. You know, I've got something to do over here, so. Hey guys, science, levers. What do you need to know about levers? Levers are a very simple tool. Tools we've used forever and ever and ever, and they separate us from animals. Using a tool to overcome something or to make something easier is what sets humans apart. To understand the lever that we're using in this video, the NightQuill lever or actuator, you need to understand a little bit about levers. There's hundreds of different types of levers. That's a lie. There's 3 different types of lever, and we use them in different situations. Every lever has got 3 things to it. A fulcrum, which is the point at which it pivots, or the point at which 2 parts are joined together. The load is the thing that you're trying to achieve. So with scissors, we're cutting paper. That's going to happen at the load end. And then the effort is how much effort we put into using them. So a pair of scissors are a type 1 lever, similar to a seesaw. The fulcrum would be in the middle, one child at one end, and the load is the other end being picked up. A type 2 lever is something like a garlic press. Here we've got the fulcrum at one end, the load in the middle, and the effort at the opposite end to the fulcrum. And what does that achieve? It gives us more leverage and more control over what it is we're trying to achieve. If we try and crush the garlic using our effort exactly where the load is, it's going to be harder than using this extension as leverage and pressing it. The third type, slightly different. So we've got the fulcrum at one end, the load in the middle, and the effort at the opposite end. This doesn't make the effort any easier to achieve anything. What it does do is it means we can use a single hand. So if this were similar to a pair of scissors and we were trying to lift something up at the end, we've got to use 2 hands to achieve that. With a type 3 lever, 1 hand. Same thing with tweezers, type 3. So our NightQuill actuators are a type 2 lever. Same as the garlic press. We've got the fulcrum at one end, the load in the middle, that's where we push our nozzle down, and then the effort is at the opposite end. So this works in the same way as a garlic press. It makes it easier for us to push down the nozzle, and what that means is for a beginner, you're going to have a better experience before you've built up your can control. You haven't built up strength in your finger to control the nozzle properly. As an example, if I want to do a thin line with a universal cap or with a fat cap, I need to apply a small amount of pressure at the back end or the front end of a nozzle, so that I only allow a small amount of paint out of. But as a beginner or a child or someone that just hasn't got particularly strong fingers, or potentially someone that's got an injury like a carpal tunnel or something like that, trying to push down a nozzle against a valve on a can isn't an easy thing to do, and it takes years and years to build that up. The NightQuill extends our effort back by about 2 centimeters, which means that it's not only easier to press, but I've got more control over it. So trying to push this down like an 1/8 of a centimeter to get a small thin line, as somebody with some experience, isn't too difficult. But for a child or someone with strength issues or just lack of experience, it's really difficult. Bring the NightQuill in, give yourself some more leverage so it's easier, and the amount of distance I need to push this down to achieve the same thing is probably 4 times what it is to do it with just my finger. So pushing this down an 1/8 of a centimeter with my finger is difficult. When I want to push the nozzle down an 1/8 of a centimeter, I'm actually moving my finger with the NightQuill probably a centimeter or more. So there's more fine control. That's basically it for levers, but to understand a little bit more about the NightQuills, there's 3 types. The yellow is a hard touch, The blue is a medium touch and the red is a soft touch. So working at the two extremes here, the yellow hard touch, I almost forgot which one was which. The material on the lever, the yellow part, is a harder plastic. So if I were to use my thumb as the nozzle and show you pushing that down, it's quite hard to do. It didn't really flex that much and it pushed a lot on my thumb, which was the nozzle. With the soft touch, it's a lot bendier, so I can fine tune it even more with the soft touch than I can with the hard touch. That's really it. So back to our man in the field, he's going to give them a go, and then we'll see you back here afterwards to find out a little bit more about how well they worked. So purely scientific test today, there's no opinions. I'm not going to tell you how I feel that they work best or not at all. You're just going to see the results. I've been painting for over 20 years, so I do have some can control, so potentially you won't see any difference. I don't have the best can control in the world, so we'll see what happens. But what we're going to do is, I've got some Cobra paints. I've got 2 cans of high pressure, the same colour, and 2 cans of low pressure, the same colour. So what we're going to do is have one with just a nozzle on the finger. The other can, we're going to put the NightQuill on. We'll go through all 3 of them and test them, and we'll see if there's any difference. So here we go, cans are ready. Low pressure Cobra, secret green, with a universal Illuminati cap on them. So that one will stay like that. And we'll start off with the soft touch actuator. Once I've got it out of the packaging. Fairly easy to put on, it's a little bit fiddly. That's the first time I've put one on. Let's see how it goes. So on the left, I'll just use my finger on the nozzle. We'll just do some patterns, we'll do some straight lines. I'll try and do some like full pressure, full width, and some little skinnies I can get with the universal cap. So let's see how they go. The surprising thing is you have to pull this down a lot further than you would imagine. So the amount that I moved my finger with just the nozzle, I've got to move twice that at least with this for it to get any paint to come out. I'll do that again, so just on the right of it, now that I've got kind of the feel for this, see if there's any difference. So from that simple test, I don't think you can tell any difference at all. So that's the soft touch on the low pressure. We'll move over now to the high pressure cans. I'll use the same nozzles and I'll use the soft touch again, and we'll see if we can get any difference with the high pressures. So I'll just show you changing this over. We'll see how difficult or easy it is. We test out the high pressure now. Again, I don't think you can really tell any difference. The difference in feel is probably getting used to it. Your high output with a high pressure can, with just your finger on the nozzle, is a minimal distance you have to move. With the lever, you're increasing that distance quite a lot, and it feels really unnatural to pull this red lever down to almost touching there, whereas with this nozzle, I'm going to move like half a centimetre to get a full depress. So there's a big difference there in the feel of it, and that's where the science comes in. So we'll move over now from the soft touch and we'll try the hard touch. Back onto the low pressure cans. one thing I have noticed, when you tilt your can towards the wall to try and get nice thin lines, you can easily scrape this across the wall, which obviously won't do it any good in the long run, and eventually it'll wear away. I'm just going to flick between the soft touch and the hard touch and see if I can actually feel any difference. There definitely is a massive difference in the flex of the, so I can pull that down quite a bit before it even sprays with the soft touch. With the hard touch, I've got a lot less distance to move before it starts painting, so the material of the lever is a lot softer on the soft touch. That makes sense, doesn't it? So last one is the medium touch. I'll stop comparing this with just a normal nozzle because I think we've touched all points on that. So we'll just see how this one feels compared to the soft touch and the hard touch. Much closer to the soft touch than it is the hard touch. Between the three of them, the soft touch and the medium touch are maybe indistinguishable. The hard touch is quite a lot of difference. We'll do a quick test. Might need to move to a clean wall or just roll this out again actually. Yeah, I'll just roll the wall out and then we'll do some more tests. So we'll stick with the medium touch and I'll just do lines the full length, the full width of the wall, and see if there's any difference in a longer line. So I'll start with finger on a normal nozzle. I'll start trying to do the skinniest line I can. And I'll do the same now with the medium touch NightQuill. So I might need to give you a close-up to see, but that NightQuill longer line is not as solid, but that's because there's got less pressure on it because of the lever. So we'll do a few more. I'll do a few more long thin lines and then we'll do some full pressure as wide as we can. take you in closer so you can actually see. So you can see this is NightQuill, this is NightQuill, this is NightQuill, this is just finger on nozzle, finger on nozzle, finger on nozzle. The lines without the NightQuill are a lot more solid. And depending, I said I wasn't going to give you any opinions, but depending on what you're painting, that's a good or a bad thing. So if you're painting a solid outline on a piece, you want solid outline on a piece. If you're doing a character and you want nice soft lines for something like a material on the clothes, on a hoodie or something, just like the transfer there. So yeah, that's a good or a bad thing, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It is what it is. So full depression on the nozzle, there is no difference at all there, I don't think. If anything, the NightQuill line is a tiny bit thinner, and that is possibly because I haven't actually done a full depress. So I'll try again, and I'll try my hardest to put it all the way down. There's a slight bit of difference there. It's probably getting used to it, but it actually feels hard to pull it all the way down to get full depression, which means really that the tool is doing what it's supposed to do. It's making it, I don't have to put as much effort in at all. It's a lot easier on my finger to paint. I'm not sure I really said what I meant to say there, but you know what I mean. Quantum theory. Why? Quantum theory. So, Fussy's finished, and what did we see? Not a lot. He mentioned a couple of things that we spoke about beforehand. So, I think the takeaway here is if you've got some can control, if you've been painting for a while and you've got some experience, you're not going to see a lot of difference in general lines that you can achieve. The thing you might see difference in is how long you can paint for without getting cramp in your hand. Some cans, Beltons for example, have got quite a hard valve, so if you're doing things like big fills with a Belton, you're going to notice after a while because your hand is going to have a hard time pushing down the nozzle for a full depress, and after a while you'll realise your hand is starting to ache and you're going to have to do this a bit, maybe switch over to using your thumb or a different finger. Softer valves like Montana Golds, not so much, you won't really notice that, but with the NightQuill you could probably paint all day long with the Beltons and not get that same feeling in your hand, because you're not having to push as hard, you're not having to use the muscles in your hand as much because you've got leverage. I think there's a small difference in what you can achieve, in that I can give a lighter touch to things like fine lines. So if I'm doing standard graffiti letters with an outline, there's no point using them. If you're doing characters or intricate work and you want to get fine lines that maybe aren't completely solid, you can achieve that with a NightQuill easier than you can with just a skinny cap. It's that you see some of the lines that Fussy painted were softer, not necessarily thinner, but they were softer. So for portraits, characters, things like that, definitely a use for them there. The biggest use is that they're going to make it easier on your hand. Children, people with not so much strength in their hands, or beginners are going to see a big difference. A child that can't push down a nozzle on a can has to use two hands, or has to, I don't know, hold the can with one hand and try and push with their hand on top. This will make a big difference, and I'll probably try and test that out with one of my kids in the future. I'll get them to do a short video to show you the difference there. So that's it. If you think that any of those things are applicable to you, go out and buy them. If you want to just test them out, they're cheap enough, give it a go. I've not been sent these, I bought these myself from GraffCity. Shout out to the guys at GraffCity. These, when I bought them, I think they were about £5, £4.99 each, so 15 quid I got all three. If I were to buy some more, I wouldn't bother with the hard touch. I probably would only get the soft touch, which is the red one. But if you take anything away from this, is that tools are useful for certain jobs for certain people. If you don't need a tool to do a job, don't use it. If it makes it easier for you, use it. There's no... People will say, oh, you don't need to use that because you should build up a skill, blah, 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 blah. Listen, this is not graffiti is not a competition. So if it makes it easier for you to achieve something, go for it. That's it. So we'll see you next time. If you like the video, subscribe and hit the like button. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think if you've used them already. And we'll see you next time. Peace.